Welcome back to Fix Your Build. This is episode number 3, and so in this episode we're going to work on this boat that somebody from the Discord posted. They're having some issues with their engines, and so let's go ahead and take a look at the Discord. Alright, so if we look at the Discord, it says, so I built a modular engine. I won't read that part, but they're having issues getting it running. Don't understand the microcontrollers, and it won't start. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at this build and see if we can get the engines running. All right, so we're in the workbench here. Let's go ahead and we will get into the build. So 3x3s, it looks like. Already seeing some issues here. For some reason, we have two air intakes. I don't know what the story is with that. That's got to go. So we'll have to look at this and fix this. There's some unusual things going on here, so I have to find. I do not see any fuel at the moment, so that is interesting. So we need to find fuel. Where are we fueling this? That's a pump there. Looks like water flow. Okay, here's fuel. So we're doubling up fuel for some reason, and we're doubling up air for some reason. Exhaust is fine. You can have multiple exhausts, but I certainly wouldn't have multiple airs and fuels. Let's make sure that all the banks are connected. So center bank is here. Center bank is... Are we actually connected to the other banks is the question. I have to look at this. So I don't see... This is not... Alright, so the banks are not connected to each other. So there's a lot of redundant manifolds here that are doing nothing. So if we look here, there is no manifold connection here. So as you can see, these are not connected to anything. So this whole bank of manifolds is not connected to this center bank. They're connected to this bank. So this bank is getting fuel, but no air. This bank here is getting fuel, but no air. This bank is getting air, but no fuel. And I assume these are symmetrical. So these banks need to connect to each other. So I don't understand the desire to do all this redundant manifold work here. But it's on here, so let's go ahead and let's make a couple changes, see if we can't get this just to run here. So I'm just going to screw around with it really quickly. So we'll do symmetry on here. We'll delete. All right, so this here is a connection. This connection needs to be physically connected to here. It's not. All right, as you can see, this bank here is connected to nothing. So this physically here needs to connect. So what we'll do here is I'll rebuild it here so you guys can see it, but we're going to take a T-piece here, and this is now going to connect the bank, the center bank. And what I mean by bank is the grouping of cylinders. So that's your bank. So that's your center bank of cylinders. Then we need to connect all of these manifold pieces. Again, this is kind of redundant having them all like this. And now there's a path to go. So you need an actual path to take the air from the center bank, which it is. It's connected in with these manifolds here. As you can see, they're actually physically connected. All right, we're going to have problems here too. No, we're good. All right, so this is going to be centrally connected here to this bank. And then it will come out there through here, down here, across here into this bank. So that's what has to happen there. These banks need to be connected. Now, personally, I would get rid of all these manifolds. They could be there for visuals. But again, I'll show the pathing on this side. So this bank here is not in any way, shape, or form connected to this bank. So of course it's not going to get any sort of, in this case, air. And the other bank is not going to get any fuel. So that's not going to work. So what we want to do is go like this. Again, there's something in engineering. Keep it simple, stupid. I don't like to use the word stupid, but keep it simple. And so the thing is, this is way, 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 way overcomplicated, and that is why it is starting to run into problems. You need to watch your pathing. This center bank is not connected to this bank, is not connected to this bank. Well, this bank here has fuel. This bank here has fuel. This gets none. This bank here in the center has air. This one gets no air. This one gets no air. This bank here, these two banks were exhausting. You can see all the exhausts. This one had no exhaust because the banks weren't connected. So I would get rid of all this just so you're not confused. But, all right, so that's step 1. Step 2, I would not be doing multiple air manifolds and fuel manifolds. I only do one of each. I can't think of any of my builds that have more than just the one. So we're going to get rid of that. And I want one fuel. We can do multiple exhausts, that's fine. All right. So then I have to go through and see what all this piping is. Okay, so those are tanks, that's fine. So all we really want to do is get this engine started. So now we have a place for fuel to come in. Fuel comes in. It goes into the fuel manifold, which is controlled by one of my microcontrollers. We check, make sure that's connected. Where are we at here? Right here. So here's fuel, hooked to fuel. Okay, good. So that's going to take fuel in, go into the engine. Because I connected the banks here, as you can see, it comes through here into this bank. It comes up through here, and then it goes into this bank right here. And then from that bank, it will come out here and connect to this bank. So through here, down, and into the bank. That will now pass fuel through. All right, so let's see. I think we're looking pretty good here. So I think that was the main issue. We'll try a start here. I don't know how this is being started, so I have to check that out. So they're going into the main panels. Let's find the right here, and we'll check how they are on the seat. And hopefully the seat is labeled with the starter. It's probably the same as I have it. It's not labeled, so I need to check what's starting these. All right, so it's one of my microcontrollers. We'll go in there and we'll take a look. All right, so where are we at? So 0.25 is up here. I'm not sure if that value is going to work. I'll have to look at it. Seat is 2, so that's fine. That's WS, so 6. So it is 6. Okay, so highly recommend, especially if you're asking for help. One of the easiest ways to do it is to help the person out. So /stop. So label your controls so that it makes it easier for somebody else to look at it. All right, so let's go ahead and spawn it, see if we can't get it to light off. I'll turn my sounds up so that we can hear the engines. All right, so we need to get to 2 RPS to start. All right, so as you can see, it's going up to 1.6. Now, there are old tutorials from Jersey and other people who they're a little bit, or definitely outdated to a certain extent. People who are putting electric motors on, you don't need electric motors, you just need more starters. So currently we're running, it looks like 2 starters here. So let's see, 1, 2. I don't know what's going on with the clutch. Let me check the clutch. I want to make sure that we're not trying to start it with the engine engaged. It's one of my microcontrollers, and most likely has the auto clutch on there. All right, so let's go ahead and let's put a couple more starters on there. So put 2 more starters. So we've doubled the starter count on there, and let's hook them up. So we have starter, 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 starter. All right, now let's try it. So we only went up to like 1.61, and we need to get it over 2 in order for this to start. So let's go ahead and try it. And engine is up and running. So again, if you can't get it over 2, it won't start. You need more starters. Now you see, we probably didn't even need 4. 3 probably would have been fine. All right, so engines are up and running, stabilized. Now, it appears that P-value is probably way too high. As you can see, we're getting RPS all over the town there. So it appears the P-value is... Okay, we don't have sticky throttle here. Yeah, we don't have sticky throttle, so that's a boat has sticky throttle, so let's do that. So let's do WS, let's do sticky. All right, and so the P-value is likely too high. I don't know what it was default. Usually I use a smaller number than this. Let's use a number that I'm used to. 0.18 is often what I'll use here. Again, they do have to be tuned to each of your craft. You can't just magically use the same number. What I would recommend is start using property numbers here. And the reason is this. So you can do P-value engine, and then set it to 0.18. Go like this. Get rid of this. And the reason I recommend you use property numbers, I've kind of started switching over to those, is I'll show you in a second here. So put that in. All right, and this is the reason why. When you click on your panel, you can edit it right here. You don't have to go in the panel and find it. It makes it a little bit easier. So, all right, so let's spawn it and let's see if that's running. If this is having issues still, we'll put on a keypad and we'll manually tune the PID. So starts, no problem. All right, let's go W. So the other thing too is this gauge is useless doing this flicky-flacky nonsense. We can't get any sort of sense of what it's doing. So we're going 20 meters per second, which is 40 knots. And this is useless to me right here. So what we want to do is this. You want to index your gauges. That gauge flying around is giving us almost no information. So we're going up to 20. So put 0, put 20. We're going up to 20 meters per second, so 0, we'll do 25 just to go a little over. That is actually going to give me some sort of sense of what this is doing. So we'll spawn it again. You know, a lot of people aren't indexing their gauges. It's one of the best ways to tune your PID is to look at your gauge. You can see the oscillations. All right, so now see, it's in a much more readable range there. Now let's start going forward. Alright, so as you can see, we can see this is actually more useful to us than it flying around 360 degrees. Alright, so that likely is too high of a p-value. Alright, it's overshooting and then undershooting. Overshooting, undershooting, overshooting, undershooting. And that's an oscillation. What we want to do is get rid of the oscillation. I just want to check these really quick. Alright, one thing you're doing here is you have no gearing. So I don't know what the point is. You probably haven't got to it yet, but there's no gearing here. I would start working on your gearing, personally. Yeah, that's something I would work on. But let's get the PIDs, let's get these tuned to let you gear on your own. So let's look in here and see if we have an extra node. Battery, p-value. Okay, right here, p-value. I left one in. I usually do. So I leave a p-value in there for tuning purposes. So let's go in here and find it. Right here, p-value. All right, so this is usually what I leave in there, p-value. We'll do both panels. All right, p-value should be up here as well. Okay, what this allows me to do is I can hook a keypad up to this, and I can manually enter the p-value. So the last value we used was 0.18. Before you had it at 0.25. 0.25 was definitely too high. 0.18 is better, but still seems to me that it is too high. So we're going to hook in the p-value with a keypad and spawn it. All right, now we're going to go and we're going to tune up the PID here. So start up. Okay, and I need to put in a value here. It won't start. 0.18. All right, started. All right, so see, it is. So the reason I talk about, let me just lower the sound a little bit here. So the reason why I talk about why you want to index your gauge, this gives us usable information. Remember, the max RPS, if I remember, this is 20. And so if we look, it is going, the needle is going past 20. We set our gauge, so the end of this dial here is 20. As you can see, it's going past that. That means the p-value is so high that it is overshooting. Then it sees, hey, I'm overshooting, and it way undershoots. It's overcorrecting. That means the p-value is too high. So 0.18, let's do 0.09, that's 50%. Alright, so now you can see it's starting to have some oscillation issues here. It's still oscillating, but it is lowering it, so that is not going to fix it. That's definitely not going to fix it. So we're going to keep cutting it down, see if I can just get it to behave itself. It's unlikely. It wants to oscillate. So we're going to have to do some more stuff to this here. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to leave it like this. That's a number I know that usually works. And what we're going to do is come down to the engine room and I'm going to check it. Alright, so I want to check the information on the engine here. It's going to be difficult because it's jumping around here to get it to run right. So we're going to go through, I'm going to look through the panels again. Exhaust flow, we're getting exhaust and no exhaust. So this could be having an exhaust problem. I need to go and look through the exhaust. Let's make sure all of these cylinders are getting the same stuff and information. All right. Let's go through them all, and I'll check them in a second here. All right, so it does not appear that it is an issue with the... does not appear that it's an issue with the p-value. It appears it's something else with the engine, so let's work on this. The other thing is, you're not going to want this engine running at 20, so let's do this. Let's start to put some gearing in this. So let's go, I don't know, let's go 9.5s on these. And let's see how it behaves. It might behave itself with a little bit of resistance. You know, running a 1-to-1 at a very high ratio, especially for a boat like this, doesn't make sense because it's a big boat. Alright, let's go back to 0.18. Alright, now we're running. Let's go full throttle. Alright. Now we're going at an insane speed, dude. So your engines are more than powerful enough. Your engines are super powerful here. You know, they're enormous. I literally have no boat in my fleet that has engines this big. So you have enormous engines. You have plenty of engine. What we'll start to do is let's get some proper gearing in here, and then let's tune these up. All right. So proper gearing. We should be able to do a 3-to-1 on these. So let's do a 3-to-1. Every time we make a change, it is best to test it. Don't change 2, 3, 4 things and then go test. Change one thing and test it, because that way you know if something gets fixed. So we're going to go back to 0.18. All right, so we changed one thing. We set the gear ratios to a 3-to-1. All right. There we go. All right, so we're starting to get good results here. All right, notice we've gotten rid of the oscillation altogether by adding resistance to the propellers. It can't overshoot now. Look at our speed. That is 80 miles. That is 80 knots. That's insane. Okay. The benefit to this is we can now make this boat more fuel efficient. Now, again, this speed is insanity, but the benefit of this is it means we have a lot of extra power. All right. And so what we can do is we can actually probably gear this up more. I'm not going to. We're at a 3-to-1. 3-to-1 is pretty high for a ship like this. And so what we'll do is this. All right. So let's go into the microcontroller. We're at like an RPS of 10. Okay. So let's go in here. Let's look at this clamp here. It's idle of 4, max of 20. Okay. And what we're doing in here is we're doing our seat, WS. So the W will go all the way up to a value of 1. The S will go to -1. So what you're doing is when the W is all the way down, it's 1 times 20. That will give you 20 RPS. We can leave this alone. That's fine. Let's go to this expression. And last time, because we upgeared and we put more resistance on the propeller, it made it so that we could only go to 10 RPS, which was good. It stabilized our engines. It made them act properly. But we don't need that. So right there, we're going, what was it? You know, we're going 80 miles an hour. That's pretty nuts. So what we can do here is let's limit this RPS. And we're going to limit it down to, let's say, 5. Let's let's change the idle. Let's go to an idle of, let's see where I have the clutch coming in here. So let's see, clutch. That's alternator clutch. Where is the reg clutch? Where is the regular clutch? Right here. Here's the auto clutch up here. All right. So if it's greater than 5, we don't need that because this engine is so powerful, we can reduce this number. All right. That's also why it's jumping off the line like crazy. So let's do on 2.75 on that, because this engine has a lot of power, and so it doesn't need to... I'll change a couple numbers here. I'll tell you what I'm doing here. So this was at 5 RPS. That was when it was adding clutch. 5 RPS, because this engine is so massive, it is more torque than we need. So I reduced it down to 275. We still should have plenty of torque at 2.75 RPS. Down here, the starter will engage at 2.5. I'm going to lower that to 2.1. That's just going to make sure that we have a little bit of space between the starter and there. Let's go up to clutch. We have nothing zeroing the clutch. That's fine for now, I guess. All right, so let's make those changes on the other panel. So what do we do here? We limited the RPS to 5. So this is going to make it so that the engine is not going up as high. This is going to save us fuel. This is going to save us heat. And this is going to bring us back to a more normal speed range. We don't have to do this, but I would recommend it. Here we changed when the clutch starts to engage. So at 2.75, the clutch is going to start to come in. Because we probably have enough torque. Before it was coming in at 5. Again, this was built for, if we look at the name of this was built for a little boat, tiny little boat. Now it has a boat with an enormous engine. It can probably take the torque. So we'll test it, and I'll make the same changes over here. All right, so I would also recommend at this point, don't split your engines. Do one panel for both engines, and then you can change those later. That way you get the same numbers. You don't have to screw around. Then you can copy the panel. So you see how I'm having to copy everything over. All right. And so I need to change another number 2 here. So let's see, 2.1. We'll go here. This idle. So the idle is probably, where is clutch. All right, so this is not correct here. I'll work on this. This will work, but it's not what I want necessarily. So let's change this idle to 2.5. And so we'll add some stuff to this. I wonder which... This is an old tutorial you're using. I have better tutorials out, so I would highly recommend going and using a newer tutorial than what I have here. That's better. All right. So we made some changes here. The maximum RPS of our engine is going to go up to 5. It was 20. And we don't need all that because we now have some gearing on that propeller. I changed the idle from 5 to 2.5. The reason it was at 5, again, was this was from a small vehicle. This is now a big, huge, hulking engine. It doesn't need to be that high. So this 20 is fine. We can leave it there. It's already going to be clamped out here. The clutch is now going to engage at 2.75. So as soon as we come up off idle a little bit, it will engage. And the starter won't engage till we'll disengage at 2.1. So let's run this, see how we do. All right, so we'll set the p-value again. 0.18 was working fine, as I would suspect, because that's what most of my stuff's running like this. All right, so now we're up, and let's start to gently apply. All right, so here's a normal boat speed. Now, if you want it faster, you can make it faster. This is a normal boat speed here. We are going 20 knots. So a boat this size would probably, 20 knots is probably about right. Now, if you want it faster, you can make it faster. Let's go in here. Let's go into the microcontrollers. All right, now one thing you can do here is you can make this work with property values. Let's do this. Let me show you how to do this. This will make it a little bit easier. I've switched over to doing this more myself now. I think this is helpful. So let's go in. Let's type in function. And we'll grab the one that has 3 values here. Right. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to get rid of these and make it a little bit more complicated. One of the reasons I do it this way is it's easier for somebody in a tutorial to understand it. Start getting into some formulas, it makes it a little bit harder, but we'll do it. And I'll leave this here, and you can see it if you want to reconnect that if you don't get it. So what we're doing here is we're reading the WS from the seat. It's going to go, again, maximum value of 1 when we push the W key, and it's going to go to a minimum value of -1 when we press the S key. All right. Then we multiply it to be able to get the desired RPS. In this case, I've set it to 5. We'll go a little bit higher. Let's say we're going all right. We're doing 20. Let's get another, let's go to 6 is fine. Well, we'll keep it at 5. If you want to make your boat faster, all you have to do is increase the RPS value. Now, we know that you can go up to 80, 80 knots with this boat, so you can increase this to whatever you want. Then it clamps it out here at an idle of 2.5 and a maximum value. Let's completely change this up here. So we're going to read from WS into this function block. All right. And so I'm going to set up a formula here. All right. The formula is going to be pretty simple here. All right. So it's going to be clamp. All right. And if we look here at add-on and you come down here, you'll see clamp. It clamps X within Y and Z. So what this is going to be is this X is going to be our desired RPS, Y is going to be our lowest RPS, which is our idle, and Z is going to be our maximum RPS, which is going to be Z. All right, so we're going to go plug WS in there. All right, so clamp. And if we look at the add-on here, we can see we need parentheses, so we do a parentheses. Next, I'm going to do X. All right, and if we do that, it's just going to come in here, and it's going to, let's see, do I want to actually increase this? Okay, this is going to be, okay, so this is going to be X, right? And then we're going to do times. And in this case, we're going to do Z. So X times Z. All right, so that's doing the same thing as this. Right here, we're doing X times 5. This is going to do, and so this is essentially X times the maximum desired RPS. So X times the maximum desired RPS. This is going to be the same thing. Z is going to be our maximum desired RPS. So it's going to be X times Z. Then again, if we look at add-on, you see we need a comma between the Y. All right, so comma, Y. All right, and then if you see comma Z, and then if you look down here, we put another close parentheses on there. All right, it says no errors detected. So what this is going to do is we're going to set Y as our idle. So this is engine idle. Okay, engine idle. And we're going to set that. So we already set it up here. 2.5 is where we're going to be. 2.5. All right, good. Next, we want to set our max RPS. So do max RPS. Okay. And in this case, it's 5. Let's keep it 5 for now. 5. All right. And I'll tell you how this works in a second. So then we take this and we plug it in there. This replaces these. The benefit, again, of these property numbers is it makes it very easy for you to edit and change this without having to go into each block. I'll show you how easy it is. Okay, so that is in there. Let's update that. Which panel was on? This one here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you a tip here. You're not ready to have 2 of these panels. You're still doing the testing here, so this is what I would do. All right, we're going to get rid of symmetry, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to delete that. All right. Now, when you're done with this panel and you're happy with its performance, copy it. All right, copy it and then put it over here. Because if you notice, every time I make a change to this panel, I have to then go back and make the same change to this panel, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You're going to pull your hair out doing that. So what I highly recommend is do this. Use one of these for both engines until you know they're where you want to be. So we're going to hook all our starters up. And we have the alternator clutches. So here's our alternators. I think we have, that's fuel. Right here we have air. Right here we have fuel. Coolant pump. I think where are we at? Alternator. Here's fluid pump right here. Fluid pump. And then we have radiator is going to go to there. And then, you know, we're just going to read the engine off of 1 and the RPS off of 1. They should do the same thing. Again, you will want 2 panels, but as you can see, every time I make a change to 1, I have to go back and change the other. It's a pain. It takes extra time. It slows down your testing. So now this one panel is controlling both. When you're happy with this, you have it all set up, copy it, move it over. That way you don't have to change it twice. So the whole reason I did that formula change is if you click on here, they're sitting right here now. You'll see engine idle is here, max RPS is here. So let's update or spawn it here, and we'll take it out. All right, good. I need to get rid of this PID here. So 0.18 is working. We know that works. And the reason why the tutorial is probably different was, again, you have a... Okay. See what's up here. Something is up now. It's revving at me like crazy. So I want to change that. So we know 0.18 was working. So let's go in here and let's hook up 0.18 to here. We don't need this p-value anymore. We already know 0.18 works. So I need to check this here. Why is this misbehaving? So let's see. RPS is still plugged in. Update. Let's make sure the other side should run fine. Let me just make sure that RPS is plugged in. RPS. Radiators, clutch. I have no clutch. That's probably why. This had no clutch, so it was revving this engine up. It had no resistance. So that needed clutch. All right, spawn it. All right, so we don't need to enter in the p-value anymore. That p-value of 0.18 is fine. All right, good. That noise is gone. Beautiful. That was just me forgetting to hook up clutch. All right, so you notice we're idled. All right, so here we are. We have your ship running. All right, now you're at, what's that? That's about 18 knots, around there, between 17 and 18 knots, probably a little bit more. So this is a normal speed for a boat this size. All right, pretty normal. Now, if you want to go in and change it, instead of having to go through, the reason why I changed that formula is here we can go to 6. All right, so now that is set to 6. So we're saying, okay, you can give me 1 more RPS if you want. All right. So that should give us a faster speed. And as you can see, it does. Gives us a speed of 12. All right, so that's 24 knots. That's a fast speed for a boat like this. Okay, let's say you're not happy with that speed. Okay, I want more speed. Now you can see why the property menus, why I changed the way you do things. Again, I would check your, it looks like the tutorial you're following is one of my older tutorials. Go to one of my newer tutorials as well. That would be helpful. All right, so again, see, I don't have to come in here, and every time I came in here, I'd have to edit this number. I don't have to do that anymore. All I have to do is click on it from way out here in space, and as you can see, there was 6. Let's go up to 7. All right. And we'll go back in, and this should give us an even faster speed. Now, eventually, you're going to get to the point where you can't overcome the resistance of the propellers because they're geared up to a 3-to-1. But your engines are absolutely enormous. Should have no problem. Remember, we could go up to 80 in this. There's 15. That's 30 knots in this boat. Okay, 30 knots. All right, so you want to keep going? You can keep going. You know, click on it again. 7, 8. There's another RPS in there. So you can see how easy it is to tune this where you want it. And if you look there, we're at 17, which we'll get an accurate calculation. So 17.8 times 1.943844 is 34.6 knots. So again, you have way oversized engines. That's fine if you want that. That gives you some flexibility, but you know, because they're so oversized, you can run them really low RPS. As you can see, ship's running fine. So to kind of recap, what I'll do here is I will go ahead and recall this to the workbench. All right, I'll make a save of this. So if you want to go from this point, you can. All right, so we'll go ahead and I'm going to save it as. I think that was it. All right, let's save that, and then I want to reload the old ship. And let's look at what we worked on here and what I fixed. So the main thing you had here, the main problem you had is these banks of cylinders, these communicate with each other, and they communicate with each other through this pipe. So this one passes fuel, air, and exhaust from here to here to here to here. Okay, now in order to get this bank to talk to this bank, you need to, and be able to share resources, you need to have manifold pieces. You need to look at your manifold pieces. This one is, the fuel is connected and pass from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. You don't need all that, frankly. You know, frankly, you could do this. You could come in here with a bomb, and you could go like this, and this would still communicate. This little pipe down here is passing all that fuel through. But if you looked, that is not giving any fuel to the center bank or this bank. So you must have these banks connected. All right, you did not, as you can see. You had double air. 1 air is all you need. Double fuel. 1 fuel is all you need. Multiple exhausts is fine. That's fine. If you're struggling getting your exhaust out of there, you can have multiple exhausts. You probably don't need as many as you have, but that's fine. That's not going to cause problems. But 1 air, 1 fuel. There are probably some small use cases where having multiples will be helpful, but in this case, as you can see, you don't need it. So that should be fine. You're going to need probably more starters. But, if you have any questions, let me know. But hopefully you found that helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.